Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the English news from Djibouti channels. Here are the top stories of our editions. Djibouti in Africa, China opening the third summit on the Cooperation Forum between China and Africa in Beijing, capital of China. President Gili speak at the high-level dialogue between Chinese and African business leaders. On continental news, according to the UNHCR, a crossing of the Mediterranean even more dangerous. That were our top stories, and now let's get to the detail. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, took part this Monday in the work of the third Forum on China-Africa Cooperation held in Beijing, the Chinese capital, from September 3 to 4. The President participated in the inaugurated ceremony of the China-Africa Forum and the meeting of private operators from two parties. The two activities on the agenda of the first part of this summit. It must be said that the inaugural ceremony of this forum did not serve to perform the ordinary and traditional rituals of a classic summit, because it did not integrate only family photos but handshakes between leaders in reunion. It concerned interventions officially declining the new course of both orders in their cooperation following the success of the first phase of their sustained collaborations, which extend to more than 10 years. The pursuit of win-win partnership, the collaborations around an efficient industrialization of Africa, the realizations of full integrations of the Black Continent in the Chinese project of the new Silk Road constitute, among other things, the objectives of the cooperation even more ambitious between them that the two parties are now fixed. This inaugural ceremony served as a niche of the joint commitment expressed by China and Africa around the need to collaborate together on the preventions and resolutions of situations are likely to award the information of effective cooperation. In this regard, the two orders that have described political instability, conflicts and war, the lack of unity and cohesion around the definition of strategic headings and major interests of the people. The Republic of Djibouti, which is represented at the high levels in China-Africa, in this case President Ismail Omar Guelleh, was praised on almost individual scale during this forum, achievement recorded as an extension on its strategic partnership with China, including the electric train and high-end ports, were directly discussed during the China-Africa Forum by the President Xi Jinping himself. And during this political summit, the economic forum that brought together mainly the Chinese and Africa CEO of large companies opened this morning Monday. The People's Republic of China has invested heavily over the past decade on the African continent, particularly in basic infrastructure. Many countries have benefited from China credits, including the Republic of Djibouti, South Africa, Nigeria, through garment factories in Rwanda or in Ethiopia. China has become Africa's largest trading partner and one of the most dynamic investors. According to Beijing, more than 10,000 Chinese companies operate on the continent. In the absence of aid from Western countries and major international financial institutions, African countries need Chinese investment, even if some criteria are heard on the fears of too much economic dependence. The President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, took part in this economic forum alongside his China counterpart Xi Jinping and several of his African peers. Speaking to businessmen, Xi said that the new Silk Road will expand markets. The Chinese President has also emphasized the importance of this summit. The Chinese president added in his speech that China-African cooperation should mitigate this protectionist trend and pave the way of common prosperity that benefit the people. African leaders welcomed the Silk Road project with a lot of fervor and enthusiasm. The economic spin-offs of the continent are obvious. The President of the Republic, who delivered a speech on the occasion of this conference on behalf of East Africa, recalled that China was the only country to recognize that to get out of poverty, it was necessary to go beyond the traditional assistantship and focus on strengthening the national economy. Let's listen to the head of state.
Gentlemen, please allow me to begin my remark on behalf of the East African region by expressing our utmost respect and highest consideration as well as our appreciation to the Chinese government for the hospitality and auspicious beginning of this important and historic event as we gather in this beautiful city of Beijing for the first time in 12 years. Today marks an important and is a testament to how far we have come in our cooperation. Indeed, although most of our country's relation with China date back decades since the very first FOCAC in 2000s, Africa and China have successfully launched a new era of win-win cooperation. In fact, since that first meeting in Beijing 18 years ago, China's investments in Africa have grown exponentially in every single sector and have been, no doubt, a contributor factor to the unprecedented growth of our continent, which has experienced these last decades. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that what we share with China is a shared sense of urgency to lift our people out of poverty and reach economic independence and self-sufficiency. What we have found in China is a partner not only believe in our ability to do so, but also invest in us. In that respect, FOCAC has been instrumental in bringing together critical investment in infrastructure, power generation and transmission, industrialization, but also agricultural transformation and knowledge. Indeed, our mutual history is once based on win-win cooperation and mutual benefit, as well as African agency, in completing contrast to what some would have you believe. In that respect, the numbers speak for themselves. According to a report that came out last year, close to 90% of Chinese firms operating in Africa were privately owned, and 89% of their employees were African, which translates to several millions jobs across Africa, most of which come with skills and job trainings. Those companies still turn high profit margin while significantly lowering the prices of products and services through technology and efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that if our countries are to prosper, we must produce, we must grow our industries and trade with one another. We must make and transform goods within our borders and add value to our commodities before exporting them. It is with that agenda in mind that we have made it our ambition to become a production and export hub as well as natural gate to the rest of the continent. China's role has been instrumental in achieving our economic takeoff, and you don't need to look further than East Africa to witness this transformation. Smartphones assembled in factories in Ethiopia now sell half as many units as the iPhone, while providing decent jobs to thousands of Ethiopians and making technology affordable to young Kenyan and Djiboutian. In the same way, investment in power generation has allowed rural area to access electricity while helping farmers make the most of their land. Meanwhile, we have greatly benefited from Chinese investment in our port, railway and roads to improve the movement of goods and persons, which have made significant contribution to our economic growth. The One Belt, One Road initiative is therefore the key
Over the last 10 years, the People's Republic of China and the African continent have intensified their economic and trade cooperation. It's estimated that in 2070, trade volume between the two parties reached 1,000 billion. Djibouti has benefited from the Chinese investment to realize major development projects, as is the case with the port, infrastructure, railway, or the new international free zone of Djibouti. Once again, let's follow the interventions of the head of state.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, China's involvement and investment in East Africa indeed date back more than 40 years, which demonstrate not only the depth of our relationship, but more importantly how China, even when it was trying to develop itself and lift its people out of poverty, always extended the hands of friendship to Africa and believed in our success. China was thus the first partner to acknowledge that the way out of poverty cannot be through assistance alone, but must necessarily be through the building of our national economies. So now that we have grown together, we are pleased to see that our win-win cooperation and friendship has only deepened and has helped better people to live better. To that end, Africa as a whole and our region in particular is eager to take full advantage of the world's market, and we strongly hope that we, on a level playing field with the rest of the world in accordance with international rules and standards. As President Xi Jinping has adequately said, China and Africa are friends tested by adversity, and such friendship must not be forgotten. We must indeed overcome a lot, and we in the East of Africa region remain committed to regional peace and stability, as well as economic cooperation and integration that will help us to mutualize our comparative advantages and make the most of our shared growth. On behalf of the East Africa region, please allow me to conclude my remark by proposing the creation of a joint East Africa China Business Council that would serve as a channel for business-to-business cooperation, as well as a forum for economic advancement and reform. Thank you for your attention.
On the sideline of the third China-Africa Summit and the Economic Forum, President Anglais had a series of talks. He met with the Chinese Vice Prime Minister Han Xing. Mr. Han Xing is responsible of planning, project appraisal and the design of public and strategic reform with the Chinese government. With this high-ranking Chinese official, the President of the Republic was particularly interested in discussion how to initiate efficient partnership between the two countries in the field of skills transfer and experience related to project management, especially in large public institutions. Describing relations between Djibouti and China exemplarily, the Vice President of China has expressed to the head of the Djiboutian state the availability of his government to provide the necessary support of the proposals submitted by Djibouti are implemented. Several members of the government of Djibouti, including the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, the Minister of the Presidency in charge of investment, Mr. Ali Gili Abu Bakr, as well as the Minister of Finance, Mr. Ilyas Moussa Dawali, and the Minister of Energy, Mr. Younis Ali Geddi, have taken part in this meeting. President Anglais also met with the Minister of International Department of the Chinese Communist Party, Mr. Song Tao. With these even eminent members of the Chinese government, the head of state addressed in particular issues related to vocational training, especially for the benefit of young people, to stem the problem of unemployment and precariousness. He also wishes to establish more sustained cooperations between the two parties in the exchange of experience and expertise. According to the Minister of Economy and Finance and Secretary General of the RPP, Mr. Ilyas Moussa Dawali, this exchange of experience will pass through two win-win programs in different regions of the two countries. Another meeting between the head of states and the Rwanda counterpart, Mr. Paul Kagame. During this meeting, the state of relationship and cooperation between the two countries and the two people, and the evaluations of the strategic partnership established between the two countries were discussed at length. The discussions were then extended to topics of common interest, including issues affecting East Africa region, to which the Republic of Djibouti and Rwanda belong to. The latest development in favor of peace and stability have been at the heart of discussions between the Djiboutian leader and his Rwandan counterpart. Following the elections of President to a Superman's office in 1999, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh initiated the State General, and that would allow the whole population to express themselves on essential questions, and among these many questions concern equity and quality. In this theme of equity, the questions of the uniform is asked many times, and it's concrete this year. According to the Secretary General of Minister of Education, he said that this challenge was very important, but they need to be prioritized. Access was a major challenge, and I would like to remind you that in 1999 we only had one high school and 8 of students reached the high school level. Today it's no longer the case. The main folk, with the support of the President, has managed the challenge of access, and we have schools everywhere. High schools are even built in the most remote localities of our territory. As far as equity is concerned, we have school canteen, school transportations. All these are achievements of the minister. The questions of quality too, we have significantly improved. We had textbooks that belongs to us, a purely Djiboutian program, but there is still a lot to be done for quality, because quality is like a perpetual quest, and even the most developed countries are long looking for it. This is how the President of the Republic in '96 ordered the menfolk to undertake new foundation to give a second wind to education, and that's how we organize the December 2060. The uniform at school is a sign of belonging to the same school community. There is no difference in clothing. Children appear equality. This belonging is reinforced with the children in the schoolyard dressed in the same way and singing the national anthem in front of the flag. It strengthens national identity and patriotism. More distinctions from the teacher, and therefore the latter will provide a quality course. Parents have always proud clothes for their children on the first day of school. All students or majorities have new clothes, so parents buy clothes. Now there may be disadvantages with families. We know that in Djibouti we have a solidarity society in government, so the family in need, and I want to remind that canteens are initiated by the President of the Republic against the background of the presidency, and this has allowed many children in the district to eat 3 meals a day in the most remote place of our territory. We have books that are free, he concluded, the Secretary General of Minister of Education. In other side, the Ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti to the Kingdom of Arabic Saudi, His Excellency Diadin Said Ba-Mahrama, was received in office in Riyadh by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Yemen, Mr. Khalid al-Yemeni, in order to discuss about the bilateral relations and issues of common interest of two countries in various fields. At the meeting, Minister al-Yemeni discussed preparation on the forthcoming consultation in Geneva on September 6th, stressing that the steps to build trust will be the mean to revive political consultations and to reach political solution leading to peace in Yemen. In the foreground of these steps is the exchange of prisoners, the secure access of humanitarian aid, the studies of the mechanism of distributions to the employees of the state. In turn, Ambassador Diyaeddin Bamakrama confirmed that the security and stability of Yemen depends on the security and stability of Djibouti, as well as the damage caused to one of our sister countries will necessarily affect to other countries. On continental news, World Remit launched digital money transfer in Africa.
Digital service will reduce the cost of sending money across borders. The prohibitive charges that individuals and businesses pay to transfer money within Africa are recognized as a major obstacle to growing regional integration promoted by the continent-wide free trade agreement signed by 44 countries in March 2018. The fast-growing and Uganda are being targeted for the rollout of this latest innovation.
Some of 400 escaped Libya prison amid deadly clashes in Tripoli.
Escape from facility near the Libyan capital Tripoli amid deadly violence between a militia group in the city. The detainees were able to force open the doors in order to leave the Ain Sara prison, the local police say. They added that the guards fighting for their lives were unable to prevent a breakout following riots at their jail. Clashes between the militants in the city have led Libya's UN-based government to declare a state of emergency. The incident on Sunday took place during army violence between the rival factions around the facility, which housed only male inmates. Many of the prisoners held at the Ain Sara prison in southeast Tripoli were reportedly supporters of the late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi and had been found guilty of killing during the uprising against his government in 2011.
Here we arrive at the end of this news edition. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.